Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I have a real quick video I'm going to do today. I already kind of shot this video a while back, but it wasn't very clear what was going on in it. So when we were up at the cabin, I was doing some fishing with my daughter, and we caught 2 fish in 2 days. So 2 for 2, pretty good. And we only went out there for a little bit of time. She didn't really want to fish too long. I'm going to explain something today, and it's a type of fishing that we don't typically do here in the States. It is called Wagler Fishing. So I had to order these special, and it's all about the float. It's all about the Wagler float. It's really kind of fun to use, and it's super devastating on trout. So if you want to have a setup that not many people have at the old fishing hole, take a look at this video. So what is Wagler fishing? Well, first let me show you my setup really quick right here. The setup I was using over vacation was, let's see if I can get it to focus, is this, turn it around here, is an old school Mitchell 304. Really simple, classic design, kind of fun to use. Never really fished with this one before, but it worked really well. It's a lightweight setup. I found an old Eagle Claw Wright McGill spinning rod, 6.5 foot, fiberglass, super fun to fish off of, super classic looking, really cool. So it kind of had this vintage look, and it worked really well. So, but the setup is this, and it's not, this setup, the 6.5 foot rod is not typical for it's not typical for Wagler fishing. Typically these guys do 10 foot rods and up, but they're just not available in the States. So this works fine for fishing small areas. From the end of the rod, basically, I'm going to try to show this to you as clear as possible. What you have right here is the end of the fishing rod that you're using. Then what you have to do, the first thing you slide on is one of these bobber stops. I'll roll in some footage on those. You can get these anywhere, usually in fly shops. They have them for floats or indicators, as they call them. I ordered some online, but you can find these at any shop, from what I can tell. They're really easy to put on. You just have a little loop, you slide it on, and they're just these rubber little beads. They're kind of soft. And so this right here is known as the Waggler. Get that in focus. And you can see there, this is a weighted Waggler, so it's pre-weighted, and it's about, I don't know, 7 inches long or so. They call it 3 times rod length, so I don't know what that means. There's specific reasons for that, but they make these in all different lengths and sizes. This is kind of a small one, so I knew that my rod that I'm using is kind of short, so I had to get a little bit shorter one of these. So this has a weight on it. This is different than the typical American float, which you put the line through usually the bottom and then out the top, I think, for steelhead type fishing. This one, as you can see, the line goes right through the bottom of this hole, of this eyelet right here on the weight at the very bottom. So what happens is you cast, and then it's very simple. Obviously, outside that, you literally just put a leader on there. I just have a. Let's see if I can zoom on that. Just one of those guys, and then my leader, which is down a couple of pounds, just because these. You have to order these. I don't want to lose this gear, so I put a lighter line on the leader. I think something like 2 pounds. And then what I ran is just a simple. What I ran is just a simple egg loop right here, and these are just standard. You get them anywhere. And then I run a Powski egg or 2 right here. So you cast this into the water. This lands in the water, and then it starts dropping right here. Okay. And as this goes down, the water level comes up to right there, and sometimes even a little bit higher. So all you see out of the top, out of the water, is just this little tip of this thing, and it's like almost 100% neutral buoyant. So what happens is, this is probably one of the most sensitive float setups that you can ever do when you're trout fishing. So as you can see there, it drops in, and these things launch like a missile. I mean, like the weight on these, the heavier and the longer they are, obviously you need a longer rod to get the longer depth and all that, but you can control the depth with these little bobber stops, just like a steelhead setup. except it doesn't slide. You don't want it to slide at all. In fact, you want that thing to be rock solid. So it sits in the water vertical like that, and then the weight of the bait or whatever you got on there drops down, you know, to whatever depth you have it set at. There's the hook. It's very common in this setup to put on some really small split shot, like maybe one, about a foot away from, you know, whatever bait you're trying to use. So you can put these little split shot, and that just keeps the bait down if you have some current going on. Okay, and so what happens is this thing is just super. So what happens is this float right here is super sensitive, and I mean a fish. I've literally had a fish. They can just literally brush a fin by whatever you're presenting to them, and this will just drop so slightly. And usually what happens is it's so sensitive that when I caught the fish that I did catch at the lake that we were fishing at a couple weeks ago, I looked up and this thing was just gone. It was like underwater, and the fish had no idea he was even hooked. And there was no, you know, I was setting up something else, getting Ellie's line set up or doing something. The rod wasn't moving, the line was slack, everything was super slack. He just swallowed the bait, started swimming really slow, and I just noticed that the float was gone. So what I do with this type of fishing is it's almost so sensitive that when you get a bite and you just jerk on the line, so a lot of times you'll just pull it out of their mouth because they haven't actually bit onto it. So I just kind of give it a second, and then I kind of give the rod a gentle pull, and then I notice, and then once I lock in, I give it a jerk. So it's so sensitive that they don't even a lot of times know they're hooked, and that was the case with both times this type of fishing. Went on the dock, sat out there for 10 minutes, hooked a fish. Other people were out there for about an hour, and they were about ready to throw me in. So you know, it was presenting something different to the fish maybe, but I wasn't using anything uncommon. It's just that I noticed they're really light, super light bites with this setup. So you know, you can use worms or maggots or you know, whatever else you want on this hook right here. But I would run a small egg loop, put 2 to 3 you know, these Powski eggs on there, and it's super devastating to trout. You could probably put, you know, like I said, worms or whatever, maybe even power bait a little bit. Problem with power bait, it's gonna float. So it's gonna float up, and that may not be what you want. These eggs tend to sink really slow. So this has been proven, at least for me, to be a very effective way of fishing for trout. So the Wagler setup, now you know what Wagler fishing is. I don't even know if I have a link to these. I think I got this on eBay, and it took me forever to find. I got like 5 of them, so I don't want to lose them. They're awesome, and it's all about the float. Wagler fishing is all about the Wagler float. So now you know.